Straight ahead on 12 News, voted down in Golden Valley. Why residents spoke out against a plan to help kids with mental illness. Then, Making College Possible, the new partnership to help Champlin Park High School students. But first, what next for a Maple Grove council member? After pleading guilty to stealing from her ailing father, a legal expert explains what could happen to her council seat. 12 News starts right now. A Maple Grove City Council member could face jail time after pleading guilty to stealing thousands of dollars from her dying father.
Leanne Sargent has served on the council since 1991. Reporter Cassie Bonstrom spoke to a legal expert today who explained what this means for Sargent's political career.
I'd like to note
she served on the Maple Grove City Council for more than 20 years, but Leanne Sargent's run may soon be up. The 63-year-old pleaded guilty on Wednesday to one count of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, a felony. Prosecutors say she admitted to stealing more than $35,000 while caring for her dying father.
During this interim period here,
legal expert David Schultz says Sargent is, by law, eligible to serve on the council until a judge accepts her guilty plea. That isn't scheduled to happen until April.
She is in a limbo at this point, and state law doesn't cover it.
If and when the plea is accepted, then Sargent becomes a convicted felon, and her eligibility changes.
If you've been convicted of a felony, you have lost all of your civil rights, including the right to vote, and that also means at that point your right to be able to serve in public office.
The bigger issue, Schultz says, may not be eligibility, but rather ethics and whether Sargent is fit to serve.
How effective, how much public confidence can there be in that person in terms of discharging their duties? And so it raises a great ethical question here.
Maple Grove City Administrator Al Madsen says they adhere to the state laws that Schultz described and won't take any action against Sargent until after her April court date. Now, Mike and Alex, I did reach out to Sargent for comment. She referred me to her attorney, who did not return my phone calls.
All right. Thanks a lot, Cassie. Well, is it safe to treat children with mental illness near your home? That was one of the questions discussed at a passionate Golden Valley City Council meeting on Wednesday night. The council held a hearing about a permit for a proposed treatment facility at 345 Pennsylvania Avenue. Reporter Shannon Slatton explains what happened.
This property at 345 Pennsylvania Avenue has potential. It is zoned to be a restaurant, a medical clinic, even a daycare. Most recently, a church used this building to house a media ministry.
It's not a time to be PC. We're talking about the safety of children, seniors, grandchildren, and everybody else.
But at Wednesday night's city council meeting, residents overwhelmingly voiced concern over what they didn't want there: a facility to treat school-aged children with mental illness.
I strongly urge you to give consideration to this not being the right fit for our neighborhood.
A company called Lifespan, with facilities in Burnsville and Shoreview, wanted to renovate the building and treat kids ages 5 to 18 there during school hours.
Although they've been struggling in other environments, we create a safe, secure environment for them to function so that they can work on their issues.
But while most residents said they supported what the facility does to help children, they said they didn't want the traffic and the safety risk near their home.
I'm definitely concerned about somebody running away. If they are going to run away, even if they don't get far, they can get the 80 feet to my house.
The thought of our kids being outside and exposed to the level of emotionally disturbed kids that are across the street from us, we're right on the corner.
They do need a place. I support the organization. I do not support the location.
The council voted down the permit in a 4-1 vote, with most council members citing the facility didn't fit with the surrounding neighborhood.
I would like to see this facility in our community properly placed.
Councilmember Steve Smidgall was the lone vote for the permit. We reached out today to Lifespan. CEO Tracy Hackman says she was stunned and saddened by the decision. She went on to say, "Our extreme disappointment is not only about a building, but more so of the offensive and inflammatory language used to describe our clients, which are children, which points to our community's lack of understanding of children with mental illness." The company says they are still interested in having a facility somewhere in the Northwest Metro to meet the needs of children here. Mike?
Right, thank you, Shannon. Meantime, Golden Valley has approved preliminary plans to significantly expand the Porsche dealership along I-394. The Porsche building would double in size. It would also be a job gainer. Porsche dealership expects to add up to 10 new employees with the proposed expansion. And the Golden Valley Council also approved preliminary plans by Tennant to improve its campus headquarters. Tennant wants to consolidate multiple properties into one single headquarters at the intersection of Highways 100 and 55. The first phase of the company's so-called One Campus plan would create roadway and pedestrian connections within existing buildings. Future plans could include the creation of a new 45,000 square foot office building. Tennant is a leading global manufacturer of floor cleaning equipment.
A controversial plan to change how Minnesotans recycle has been scrapped. The plan would have added a 10-cent fee to recyclable beverage containers, a fee that would get refunded at collection centers set up across the state. The idea was proposed to boost the state's stagnant recycling rate. However, opposition quickly grew from retailers, grocers, and even some recyclers who felt the plan was too burdensome and costly. Representative Melissa Hortman of Brooklyn Park also felt there wouldn't be enough time this legislative session to address such a big policy change. The Minnesota State Lottery launched its new online scratch-off tickets today.
Our state is the first in the country to have electronic scratch-off tickets. Lottery officials say they went with online scratch-off tickets to attract a younger crowd and to boost sales. Some wondered if the electronic tickets would cut into the local pull-tab business. The owner of Dick's Bar and Grill in Osseo says he's not worried about the competition.
I don't think that will really cut into ours. I just think it gives the lottery one more avenue to buy lottery tickets. I think when people are gambling, it's their money, and if they win, they want it right now. They don't want something over the phone or online or something like that.
Proceeds from Dick's Pull Tab sales support the Osseo Fire Department.
In light of the recent cold weather cancellations, the Robbinsdale School District has decided not to add days to its school calendar. That decision affects grades 1 through 12. However, if there are more cold or snow days, the district would have to add days to meet state requirements. It's a different story, though, for half-day kindergarten, which has different instruction requirements. The district has added March 6th and 7th to the calendar to make up for lost time. Well, there is no debate about our story. Coming up, see why Maple Grove Senior is destined for good things.
And then later in sports, Nordic skiers in Section 5 race for spots in the state meet.
But first, the cold continues, yet we could reach double digits on Friday. For the first time ever, more than 36 Champlin Park High School students are taking part in a program that's designed to see them through college graduation.
And these kids have the right drive, they just need a little more help with the resources available to them.
The Twin Cities nonprofit College Possible pairs coaches with low-income students to help them navigate the process of getting into college. Junior Natel Kayipu works with a coach after school 4 hours a week on everything from ACT test preparation to advice on seeking financial aid.
And it's a lot of helping you determine where you want to go, like what type of college you want to go to, and help you with ACT prep, because I get major anxiety when I think of stuff like that because it's so overwhelming.
Coaches stick with the students through college. College Possible partners with 20 metro area schools and is used in close to a dozen cities nationwide. This week's standout student isn't afraid of tough questions.
He's a Maple Grove senior who wants to put his mind towards fixing health care.
Go ahead, Hamlet.
In this Maple Grove Advanced English class,
murder must foul, as in the best it is.
It's a reading of Hamlet that raises questions.
Do we trust the ghost if we have to keep it all a secret?
Senior Aditya Parikh is fond of questions, and he's never met a problem he didn't like.
If I see a problem, I like to go and solve the problem because it irks my mind to see a problem and not do anything about it.
And one of the things that he does, which is sort of typical of this generation, but a little bit more so, and that is that they sort of challenge the status quo.
haste me to know it.
As a sophomore, when Aditya saw his classmates struggling with literary argument, his solution was to work with others to create a program called Reading Seedlings, now used in some of the district's elementary schools.
We teach literary elements like claim, evidence, and warrant, plot line, character arc, to elementary school students, so when they get into high school, they're able to better understand it.
A disciplined and driven student leader with the ability to see both sides of a problem, Aditya recently won a state championship in debate. He also hones his skills as captain of the speech team.
It's like he's got the big picture in mind, and he's creating the building blocks.
With his eye on the long view, Aditya's career goal is to become a healthcare economist.
Which would be finding win-win scenarios between insurance companies and patients like us, so they can be profiting and we can be receiving care at a cheap but at an affordable yet effective price.
For this 17-year-old, it's all about further developing his critical thinking skills so one day he can work on our nation's healthcare problem. College acceptance letters arrive next month. Aditya applied to Harvard, Dartmouth, Cornell, and Brown. And he's got a challenge with healthcare, that's for sure.
He's got his work cut out, yep. Coming up, how a simple call can help Osseo school children learn to read.
But first, a top 10 matchup in boys basketball as Osseo takes on Armstrong. John Jacobson has your highlights up next.
John Jacobson has pretty much thawed out after witnessing some cross-country skiing. It is still chilly out there, especially for spectators, I think.
Yeah, you know, I think next week at the state meet up on the Iron Range, it might be warmer than it's been in the Twin Cities this week for these section meets. It has been a cold winter, and local Nordic skiers certainly didn't get any breaks from cold temps at section meets this week. Flurries and a balmy 6 degrees at race time at the Section 5 meet Wednesday. Irondale's Maddie Watts is the girls' winner with a time of 34 minutes, 30 seconds. Osseo's Sarah Bezdacek takes third place and qualifies for state. And Champlin Park's Shannon Wald is in 10th place, also qualifying for the state meet. In the boys' 10K, Mounds View's Steve Hokinson takes gold. His winning time, 30 minutes, 58 seconds. Park Center's Nathaniel Johnson and Osseo's Tanner Wetzel battle to the finish. Johnson is 6th, Wetzel 7th. We talked to Park Center's Johnson and Champlin Park's Wald, both first-time state qualifiers.
It means that my season makes sense. I've been doing this since 6th grade, and I can see my progress, and I'm happy where I ended. And where I started, it's funny to look back and see how bad my form was and how much I've progressed.
Been working towards it since I started skiing in 8th grade, so that's pretty cool. Last year I wanted to make it, didn't, but it feels so good to do it this year, finally.
The Roseville girls and Andover boys were the section team champions and will ski at state. In addition to Tanner Wetzel, Adam Berkowitz and Mitchell Damer of Osseo also qualified for the state meet, which is next Thursday in Bowabic. Park Center's girls basketball team is aiming for what could be just the second conference title in school history. Their title hopes, though, took a major hit on Wednesday night as the Pirates hosted Anoka. Good passing against Anoka's zone leads to a three-pointer for Kayla McMorris and an early 7-2 PC lead. McMorris scores 16 points total. Anoka gets the ball inside. Amber Bray scores their first 3 hoops, and that's 12 on the night. Good high-low play for Park Center. McMorris to Michaela Hayes for 2. The coach Chris Vanderhyde's team trails by 3 at the half after crushing Anoka in the first meeting. And the Tornadoes then take control to start the second half. Bray posting up strong to score. Park Center battles back, but they never catch up. Samantha Brannon gets the layup as Anoka wins 57-52. It's Park Center's second loss in Northwest Suburban games. Armstrong handed Osseo one of its 2 conference losses in boys basketball back in December. The Orioles and Falcons played the rematch Wednesday on the Orioles' home court. Ken Novak Jr. and Sr. of Hopkins, coaches on hand to scout this one, and Osseo jumps out to a quick lead, but Armstrong then goes on an 11-0 run, including this sweet move to the basket by Melvin Newbern. Osseo comes back. Joara Roberson breaks up the pass. Jordan Dembley slings it ahead. Elliott Kane with the up and under move to pull the Orioles back within 1. Rajon Whitley steals the ball in the backcourt, and after the give and go with Newbern, finishes with a layup, put Armstrong back up by 4. With a minute and a half left in the first half, Wheeler Baker's quick turn and shoot gives the Orioles the lead. They're up 4 at halftime. Osseo still without starters. Ian Tyson and Matt Medkey relies on Baker. He gets into the lane for a layup to put the Orioles up by 3. Then Dembley crosses over and spins around a defender and scores. Osseo wins it over Armstrong 68-61. Seeing your ice fishing lure spin in the water might be fun to watch, but it's not really good for catching fish. Terry Tuma explains how to avoid it in this week's Channel 12 ice fishing tip.
We all are very aware when we vertical jig for sunfish and crappies and even walleyes is that how we get that what's called lure spin, where that lure actually will just twist around in the water column. You take it up out of that hole and you can just watch it spin in both directions. Sometimes it'll spin back and forth, and we need to avoid that. If you got lure spin and fishing for these crappies and bluegills, it's going to affect your bite big time. And a great way to avoid that is using, and these are clam inline, or sometimes they'll be called straight line reels. They're basically like a fly reel, but what happens is now, because you don't have a line twist with this, because the line comes straight off, with a spinning reel, we've got the line twist because of the oscillation of that line onto that spool. So that's what causes your line twist, not the jigging action. And with this type of a reel, you're going to avoid that line twist completely. Therefore, now you're not going to have lure spin and you're going to catch more fish. So give it a try. Very inexpensive reels. You can attach them to your rods, and it's a great way to catch fish. It's not a new concept, by the way. This has been out for a few years, but it has been, you started in Michigan, perch fishing many years ago, and now it's sort of shifting towards our areas. Again, line twist is a big factor, and so is that lure spin. We need to avoid that. And be sure to tune in next week for another tip. Take a kid ice fishing this week.
Thanks, Terry. Wayzata Edina, boys hockey tonight. We'll have highlights of that and more Friday starting at 4.
He looks like he has a nice ice house
It
there.
is very nice. Yes, nice and warm.
Thanks a lot, John. Still ahead, a Valentine's themed partnership with Osseo area schools.
The unique way to get children to love reading. Coming up.
February is I Love to Read month.
And students at Northview Junior High have a unique way to mark the occasion. The school is holding an event called Dial a Story. Student volunteers from Northview Junior will read bedtime stories to young readers who call in. Most stories will have a Valentine's Day theme. The idea is to get young people to love reading.
They typically pick from around 60 books. The kids kind of pick them out ahead of time, and we give them an opportunity to go through them and read them. And we train the junior high students on, the speed with which to read and volume so the kids can hear.
Kids in the Osseo district can call in from 7 to 9 p.m. on February 13th, and that number to call is 569-7787. So important to read to young kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.